Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back. I hope you all had a good Easter break. Today for reading, we are starting on lesson 25. Our pre-reading story today is Johnny Appleseed and his apples. Many people think Johnny Appleseed is a made-up character from a tall tale, like Paul Bunyan or Pecos Bill. In fact, Johnny Appleseed was a real person, even if he was quite an odd character. His true name was John Chapman. He became known as Johnny Appleseed because he planted apple seeds everywhere he went. In the early 1800s, settlers were pushing west. John Chapman had an idea. He thought people should have apples wherever they lived. So he set out with bags of apple seeds from his orchard in Pennsylvania and began to plant apples across the frontier. He traveled all over what is now the Midwestern part of the United States. He had three tree nurseries in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Illinois, and Indiana. He gave away and sold many trees. He traded his trees or work for a meal and a floor to sleep on. John Chapman was unusual. He wore a coffee sack as a shirt and a tin pot on his head. He never wore shoes, even in the winter. He was a vegetarian and very religious. He got along well with the Native Americans. He didn't seek the comforts that most men wanted. No wonder he became a legend in his own time. Nowadays, people like things to happen fast. Waiting 10 seconds for a computer screen to load can seem like a long time. But it can take 10 years for an apple seed to grow into a tree that has its own apples. An apple tree grows like other plants. Seeds begin to form when a grain of pollen from the apple blossom lands on the pistil of another apple blossom. Some seeds grow a pod to cover and protect them. The fruit of the apple covers and protects the apple seeds. Once the apple is ripened, it either falls to the ground and rots or is carried away and eaten. Either way, the seeds can end up in the ground. Rain will then soak the seed and soften its hard outer coat. Now the root can crack open the seed coat and push down into the soil. The shoot can push up out of the ground. The little apple seed is on its way to becoming a sapling, which is a small tree. In a few more years, the sapling will become a mature tree that has fruit of its own. The seed from a tasty apple hardly ever grows into a tree that produces more tasty apples. Farmers have known this for thousands of years. That's why tasty apples are grown by grafting. That is when a piece from a good apple tree is carefully attached to a tree that is already growing. The apples that came from Johnny Appleseed's trees may have been filled with nutrition, but they most likely were not very tasty. That's why some historians think these apples were for making apple cider, a popular drink at that time. I want you to think about what we read. There's some questions that go with the story. I want you to take a look at those questions and answer them before you forget. You can re-listen to the story if you need to, so go ahead and do that if you need to listen to it again to answer the questions. And there's a word in here, vegetarian. In case you don't know what that word means, it means that he didn't eat meat. So he only ate vegetables and fruits. Okay, go ahead and check the questions, answer them, and re-listen to the story if you need to.